Welcome to the introduction, Navigating a Hypermedia API. In this demonstration, we'll look at the underlying API that serves this user interface. You can start by clicking on the API link. But first, a quick introduction to the user interface that you're looking at that runs across the API. These are clickable links that will move you into and through the network of data. The back button will move you back. If you go forward again, and you can use up relations to move you back up. There are buttons for copying the actual data. You can save it to a file or look at the actual raw form. There is also useful information about the headers, and you can log out. We'll log out. Now we're going to follow a me link. I'm now looking at the network of data in the context of the user, me. I have to-dos and I have tenants. I'm going to look at the to-dos. I have one to-do list, and on the to-do list I have more to-dos. I have 3 to-dos, where each to-do now has a value. I can go up, back to my to-do list, and I can see the other to-dos. A to-do also has tags. In this case, there are no tags on that to-do. I'll go back up. I'll go back up to the list. I'll look into my list. And I go and look into a new to-do. I go into my tags, and I can see that there are actually tags. All of that might be just a little bit much to take in and remember, so we actually need a diagram. Here's the diagram of the domain. Currently, we came in the root, we followed the me link, we went to a user through its collection of to-dos to get a to-do list. Then it got a list of to-dos on the to-do list, which is a recursive structure, and we also looked at the tags on a to-do. Now let's look at how Hypermedia API provides the ability to update resources. If we go into a to-do item, it provides us with an edit form. We'll click the edit button. It provided us the form. We put the values into the form, and then we can update them. Let's put tagged and just remove tag, and then we can submit it. It redirects, and we can see that it's now updated that attribute. What's going on is the edit form provides us with the information that we require, the type of field, the attribute, whether it's required, and a human readable aspect. In the case of the drop-down state, it provided us by value the 2 values for the enumeration that got sent back to the server. And then we've got a date time. So what happens then is when we go to the edit form, it loads up that form, and our code then knows how to map that to HTML forms, or in the case here, we've got a widget that's a nice date time widget. Now, let's look at how to update resources. We do this with edit forms. Let's click through to a to-do item. We see there's an edit form. We're able to click on the edit button, which will allow us then to update these values. It's pre-populated the values and filled them into the template, which is the edit form. Let's just update it to tag and then submit. That will do a post back onto this resource, which was its self link, and we can see that it's updated. What does the form look like underneath? Let's click through to the raw form. The raw form has a series of items, which are all the fields that are to be displayed, the type, the attribute that will be actually sent back, a human readable description. Here's an example of a select, which is an enumeration. It also has items, and it provides the values that can be sent back to the server. And here's an example of a date time. Let's go back, click into the edit button, and we can see how this looks like in the UI, and this needs to be done as a translation through the JavaScript. The same process occurs for create, except create occurs on a collection. Let's go back up and find a collection. Here's a collection of our to-do items. We go to the create form. In fact, let's look at the create form first. It looks pretty much identical to the edit form. Go to create, new item, state, and a date, submit, redirects, sends us to the newly created to-do item. We can edit it, or we can go up, which will take us back to the collection that it exists in. We now see that it's added into the collection. If we roam around the network of data, we see that edit forms and create forms exist in places in which we can do those actions. Up, up, we see that there's an edit form also on a user. If we go back into the to-dos, let's have a look at how we might delete a resource. Going into a to-do item, I can click into the to-do item. Here's a delete button. It will be deleted. In summary, what we've demonstrated is that through a browser we can navigate the hypermedia API through the link relations. In all likelihood, we're going to need a diagram that shows us the relationships and the collections for us to make sense of it. Thanks for watching this demo of how to navigate a hypermedia API. I hope it was useful and that you'll download the code and have a try for yourself, or go and try the demo at api.todo.semanticlink.io. Thanks.